Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we are taking a look at one awesome knife from an independent maker coming out of Blackbird Blades. What we are talking about today is the Grackle. Now, before I go any further into this review, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length coming in at 7.5 inches, a blade length of 3.25 inches, and a blade thickness at 125 thousandths. Blade material, very impressive here. We are looking at CPM Magnacut, and very important to note, an HRC of 63. So coming in at a really, really good hardness. We have a clip point style blade, a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.25 inches, and a handle thickness at 484 thousandths. Handle material on this guy is, as you could probably guess, titanium with some really nice milled designs on it and some contouring, very comfy in the hand. We have a frame lock for the locking mechanism, a user of a right hand only tip up carry, a weight coming in at 3.4 ounces, designed by Vince Rizzo with a price coming in at $300. Now, it's also very important to know that this is manufactured by Bestech. So Bestech is, in all honesty, making some of the best folding knives in the world, you guys, especially coming out of China. I will still argue any day that $50, $60 Chinese knives are better than a lot of other knives made outside of China. They're a great value, exceptional quality, and this is definitely at the top echelon of premium folding knives in that $300 to $400 range. There's no one doing it better than Bestech, in my opinion, when it comes to Chinese folders. Riot's doing as good a job, but at this point, I wouldn't say anyone is doing a better job because Bestech has just really been knocking it out of the park. Yeah, so where do we go from here? Because this is a knife that it comes off as a sleek, kind of gentlemanly, tactically type of knife, but it's also just a tank. This is walking a very fine line of something that's just an absolute tank, but it also has the finesse in the lines of more of just a sleek little EDC folder. And I love where Vince went with this in the design because he really did pull the best of both worlds into this EDC. Let's take a look at some size comparisons here, get it lined up with some other knives that I think a lot of people are probably very familiar with. This one's been pretty popular lately, the Kaiser Militaw. It actually lines up really well with the Kaiser Militaw. Militaw is a little longer, but not by much. And then we also have this guy, which I'm sure a lot of you know, the Civivi Sikoke, which is also pretty much a perfect size comparison there. And let's bring two more in here in case those didn't do much for you. Hopefully these two will. We have the Kaiser Assassin, which is probably the closest. I would say the Assassin is like spot on in terms of length. And then a little shorter, we have the Vosteed Raccoon. Wow. Well, yeah, it is technically a little shorter. The camera doesn't quite show it, but just by a hair, the Raccoon comes behind the Grackle. That's a really good name, too, the Grackle. That's just that's a fun one. And this knife is fun. This knife is all sorts of fun, and it's all sorts of slicey. Now, the flat grind itself isn't exactly very tall, but this kind of reminds me of a Shirogorov in terms of just how quickly it comes down to a very, very thin, slicey edge. 15 thousandths behind the edge on this guy. And like I said, it's not a very tall grind, but boy, oh boy, does it get thin quick. And it cuts and slices extremely well. This is a very good combination of a very strong blade with that Magnacut at 63. It's going to have extreme toughness, extreme corrosion resistance, very, very good edge retention, and it's just an extremely well-balanced steel. And you also have a nice tip up there that is can be slicey, but it's also just stout too, a nice stout tip. I wouldn't recommend to go prying with it, but there's a lot worse blades you could try prying something with than this Grackle here. It is just a very, very very good looking and very well built blade in terms of geometry, heat treat, and of course aesthetics. And yeah, that middle finger flick, the blade cutout on this thing is perfect, absolutely perfect, even though I kind of fudged that middle finger flick there. That's more what it's like. Let me get a cloth in here and wipe this blade off. Now, as you see here too, another thing I really like about this is we have a DLC coated blade with a belt satin grind. I really like that because you don't see that much anymore. Very rarely do you see a DLC blade with a satin grind. I think that looks really, really good. I think this knife in general is a very tactical, handsome knife. It's really, really good. It would go well in a lot of occasions. It feels really good in the hand. The jimping back here is fantastic. And this little fuller they have up here, this line, whatever they want to call it, a fuller or whatever you want to call it, it works really good. You can also, if you have more fingernail than me, but here you go. I don't even have much of a fingernail. And boom, you can still kick it out very easily. So deploying this blade is no problem whatsoever, and a lot of it has to do with the perfect combination of a cutout and a nice fuller with good bite on the nail. Just a lot of good things going on with this blade. Let's take a look at that plunge grind there, and the plunge grind is very, very nice. You could definitely take that down a little more and it would still be looking really good. So a good job there. Going into the handle, like I said before, it's a very comfy handle. It's just the right length for me. A little shorter and you'd start to feel the end of the handle, but since it is that good length, it feels very full in hand. For a knife that really isn't that wide and that thick, again, it looks like a slender knife, and it is a slender knife, but when you hold it in your hand, you feel something a lot more substantial, which I really, really like in this. And I do like the milling lines. They're kind of, at first glance, I thought they were kind of random. I wasn't sure how much I liked them, but they really do work with the knife. Again, especially with the raw titanium, the black DLC, the satin grind. It's a nice blend of neutral shine and darkness and just a lot of good stuff. I also really love the maker's mark and the logo of Blackbird blades. There's you have this on the blade, and then for a little better of a view, there is the Blackbird blades logo again. Also very important to note here, this is of course going to be mentioned in the description of the video. If you want to pick one of these up, there's not many retailers that are carrying this. You can get it at Blade Binge, but it's $325, so they're charging a little more. You need to get a hold of Blackbird Blades on Facebook or Instagram to pick one of these up. I will specify the Instagram handle down below, and of course you guys know how to find something on Facebook. You just search Blackbird Blades and it'll pull it up. You'll find it, especially if you know what the logo looks like, because the logo is very prevalent, and that'll tell you what you need to know. In terms of the rest of the handle, it has a pretty nice clip. It's a milled clip. Carries deep enough for me. I wouldn't consider this to be sitting high in the pocket by any means. So good amount in the pocket, a little coming up, probably about the size of a Sharpie cap, I guess, is what would be out of the pocket. But nice, strong lockup with that frame lock. Excellent lockup. You have, of course, your over travel stop and your lock bar insert, all the good stuff there. And it's one of those knives that it's one to where you see the pictures and you're still going to be surprised if you're to pick one of these up. You'd be surprised when you get it just how sleek it is. And I tell you what, man, oh man, this action, it's typical Bestech, which is phenomenal in any comparison to any other knife. But this is very, very, very smooth. Absolute perfect detent. Very, very easy. And it's one to where you can flick any part of the hole and it's going to come out really well. But I really think if you flick kind of like halfway between the cutout and the fuller, that's the best spot because it really breaks it loose and just flies out of there. It's so good, so satisfying. High fidget factor on this, and this is an absolute heavy user. This is definitely a knife that you could use very, very hard. I think it would hold up extremely well, especially with that fantastic heat treat on the Magnacut. This is not a cheap knife. It is rather expensive at $300, but you are getting a lot of knife and a good looking knife for $300. So take that for what it's worth, guys, but let me know what you guys think of this. I've been really impressed. It's gonna hurt to send this one back to Vince, but it will be heading back his way here shortly. And man, oh man, it's going to find a good home. And I have a feeling all of these are gonna find good homes here very soon, because I don't see these knives sticking around very long. Very, very nice piece from Blackbird Blades. Great job from Mr. Vince Rizzo, and I hope to see a lot more from him in the future. Let me know what you guys think of the Grackle. Really hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.